Speak on This Show 2021, episode 22, tax evasion versus smart business, consequences of decisions, procedural, technicality, and the mind, body, and soul segment. It's a 4th of July weekend, y'all. Y'all ready? It's Saturday morning, baby. Let's go. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to Speak On. I am your boy, R.W. Coolins. First and foremost, giving honor to God who allows me to come at you in this manner on a weekly basis. How's everybody doing out there this morning? Saturday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific. Saturday morning. You know what time it is. You know what we do here on the Speak On This show. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Let's get these formalities out the way so we can get into this conversation today. rwcoolins.com. That's the website. You can go there, get all the information you want, all the information you need, share. RW Coolins off over all social media platforms. Go there, like the show, subscribe, share, do what you do with all the other things that you follow. Share, follow, do what you do when we do what we do here on the Speak On This show. All right. Call in number. Oh, and we're also broadcasting live on Facebook and YouTube this morning, as we always do. And after the show, you can download on Spreaker.com and Apple iTunes if you just want the audio. So go there. You can get all those shows on Spreaker, and you just search RW Coolins, and you can also get it on Apple iTunes. Same thing, same place. 844-904-2665. That's 844-904-2665. No matter what the situation is, let your voice be heard. All we ask is when you come in, say what you mean what you say. If you got something to say, if you want to chime in, feel free. Feel free. Oh, we come in as friends, we leave as friends. That's what we do here on the Speak On It show. 4th of July weekend, y'all. Independence Day, United States of America, Independence Day. That's where we're at. July 4th, 2021. Now, there's a lot of people that are torn now that we're celebrating Juneteenth. They were like, well, since I celebrate Juneteenth, I'm not going to celebrate 4th of July, vice versa, different things like that. But, I as I mentioned last week, something doesn't sound right with my microphone. Hold on, y'all. What's going on here? But as I mentioned last week, I observed, Juneteenth for a long period of time. It doesn't deter me from actually recognizing the 4th of July. We've always recognized it. We've always celebrated it. Shouldn't change anything now. Just an observation on my end, just something that a lot of people are going back and forth between the two. But, I seen this week, speaking of Independence Day, I seen this week where the House has decided that they're going to do their own investigation about January 6th, what happened on January 6th. The Republicans are getting mad. They're saying that any Republicans who decide to be on a part of this investigation, they'll be taken off committees and different things like that. I'm not sure what they're scared about. I'm not sure why there's this big thing about being worried about what's going to come out from this investigation. We've all seen it. We all see it. We all see it from a commercial. But we all seen what happened on that day. And, for them not to do an investigation, I think is, playing politics as usual. But I think it's something that needs to be investigated. I think it's something that needs to be done. So that's just me. Lady Michelle, good morning. Good morning. Appreciate the support. Appreciate the support. Brian Hoodie, good morning, my brother. Appreciate the support. Appreciate the support. 844-904-2665. As I mentioned, that's the call-in number. You can call in if you got a comment as we get into the show, but we got some things that we want to talk about that have been going on in the world this week. And it ain't just on one side either. It's all across the board. Let's go ahead and start here, shall we? Tax evasion versus smart business. Tax evasion versus smart business. Now, I know all of you already know where I'm about to go with this because it just came out this week that the Trump organization has been charged with running a 15-year employee tax scheme. Let me say that again. The Trump organization has been charged with running a 15-year employee tax scheme. And the one that was arrested and he was indicted this week was Alan H. Weisselberg. He is the top executive of the Trump organization. OT, good morning, my brother. Good morning. Appreciate the support. Ethan Johnson, good morning, bro. No investigation is non-patriotic. Yes, it does. It just don't add up. You know, he's talking about the insurrection on the Capitol for y'all that didn't hear him. But yeah, it doesn't make sense not to do the investigation. You got to find out. They want to investigate everything, but they don't want to investigate that. That ought to raise some flags amongst everybody. I don't care what political party you may be associated with. And what I would tell everybody is pull your political affiliation out of the equation. Pull your political affiliation out of the equation and look at it with a clear scope and ask yourself, why would we not investigate what happened in our nation's capital on the Capitol on January 6th? Just going to leave it at that. But let's get into this 15-year tax scheme. So I want everybody to think back. And this was a comment before we get into these charges. September of 2016, there was a debate between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. And in this debate, there was a comment made that at the time was at headline news, and then it kind of fizzled away and everything because Donald Trump ended up becoming president. But it comes back to the forefront when we talk about this, what they've been charged with, what the Trump organization and Alan Weisselberg has been charged with this week. And in that debate, Hillary Clinton made it a point to talk about Donald Trump's taxes, how he doesn't pay taxes, he isn't paying the taxes, he's cheating the government, all the different things you can think about that she said during that debate. But the one thing that a lot of people forget about is what Donald Trump said in response to Hillary Clinton during the debate about not paying taxes. And he said, that makes me smart. I think everybody remembers that now. In the debate, she was going at him about his taxes and everything and how he was, using this and using that and all this thing. And the only response he had to her was not that he pays taxes. He came up a couple times, said his taxes were being audited and everything. But the only response that stands out at this particular time with this investigation is the fact that he said, that makes me smart. I want everybody to remember that as I go through this of what they charged the Trump organization with this week. The Trump organization, the real estate business that catapulted Donald J. Trump to tabloid fame, television riches, and ultimately the White House, was charged Thursday with running a 15-year scheme to help its executives evade taxes by compensating them with fringe benefits that were hidden from authorities. The Manhattan District Attorney's Office, which has been conducting the investigation alongside the New York Attorney General, also accused the top executive, Alan H. Weisselberg, of avoiding taxes on, watch this number now, avoiding taxes on $1.7 million in perks that should have been reported as income. Mr. Weisselberg, Mr. Trump's long-serving and trusted chief financial officer, faced grand larceny, tax fraud, and other charges. To put it bluntly, this was a sweeping and audacious illegal payment scheme. This is Carrie Dunn. She's the general counsel for the Manhattan District Attorney, Cyrus R. Vance Jr. And she said this during the arraignment in the state Supreme Court in Manhattan. Mr. Trump was not charged. Watch this now. And no other executives were accused by name of wrongdoing. The only one that's been charged is the organization as a whole and Mr. Alan H. Weisselberg. who Mr. Trump said he trusts totally. Now, Mr. Weisselberg, for you don't know, has been with the Trump organization for years and years and years. Mr. Weisselberg used to work for Donald Trump's father. This is how long back and how far back this goes with his quote unquote loyalty to the Trump organization and the Trump name. The 15-count indictment, which charged the Trump organization with committing a scheme to defraud criminal tax fraud and falsifying business records, also accused the company of avoiding its own obligations by not paying payroll taxes on the benefits. It charged Mr. Weisselberg with failing to pay taxes on leased Mercedes-Benzes, bonuses, and rent-free apartment paid for by the company. After Mr. Trump personally paid private school tuition for Mr. Weisselberg's grandchildren, Mr. Weisselberg directed that the notations, in parentheses, per Alan Weisselberg, be removed from the ledger recording the checks. And the indictment charged Mr. Weisselberg with grand larceny for obtaining tax refunds to which it said he was not entitled. The indictment laid bare a number of incidents in which prosecutors say Mr. Weisselberg abused his position at the company to benefit himself and his family, including getting the company to pay for personal expenses such as new beds, flat screen televisions, and furniture for his Florida home. At the year-end holidays, now I want you to hear this, at the year-end holidays, Mr. Weisselberg used cash from the company to hand out tips to people in his personal life, the indictment said. The plan worked like this. Mr. Weisselberg led the company to issue checks to another employee who then cashed them and gave him the money for his personal use. The company recorded the cash on its ledgers as holiday entertainment, but on internal spreadsheets, the money was reflected as compensation, the indictment said. Now, I'm not going to continue reading this because you get it. You understand it. I had this discussion not too long ago with somebody that talks about, we were talking about taxes. And the person said that there's all these loopholes that you can use when you file for your taxes. And he said to me clearly, if I know how to use the loopholes, that's what they're there for. What they were doing in the Trump organization, from what I've read and what I've, researched and looked at, is they were circumventing paying payroll and things like that so they wouldn't identify it as people having to pay tax on it by giving them cars and TVs and beds and cash payments and identifying it as something else. But the one major thing that jumped out from this whole investigation that I've read and what I seen was not the fact of what they did, but the fact that they kept two sets of books. Let me say that again. The fact that they kept two sets of books, two ledgers, two accountability forms of what they tracked. And the thing about it, what they tracked, which was they called the official for tax purposes, and what they tracked unofficially for what they were actually doing. This is where my problem comes in because, it's one of those things that if you're carrying two books and each one of those books account for something where you feel that should be covered up, that means you're doing corruption. I'm going to call it what it is. I put tax evasion versus smart business, but damn it, it's corruption. Let's just be real. And the thing about it is people are in an uproar who support Donald Trump. They say it's a witch hunt. He says it's a witch hunt. All these different things. They said they're going after the, Weisselberg, who Cohen said was the brains behind everything and knew where the bodies were hidden and all that kind of stuff that you can think about. But people are saying this is a witch hunt. And then there's other people who say that this is the first time they've ever seen prosecutors go after an organization like this because of this type of practice and everything like this. My thing is this. No matter what the reason why they're going after him, no matter what the reason is that people may feel that it's because of Donald Trump or whoever it may be they're going after. I did not hear this uproar when Wesley Snipes went to jail for not paying his taxes. From some people. I did not hear this uproar when Ronald Isley served time for evading taxes. I did not hear this uproar when Red Fox lost just about everything because of taxes. I didn't hear all this uproar about that and there, but because people put in their political affiliation associated with who is doing the crime, and let's call it what it is, a crime. This is where the differences come in about how we view whether it's tax evasion or smart business. Now, I'll say it this way. We all pay taxes. We're all susceptible to pay taxes. It's it's the law. You have to pay your taxes. And I know many of us look for loopholes in our taxes. I understand that's what we do. We want to get more. We want to get money back at the end of the year because of what we paid in. Understandable. But I want you to look at it from this point of view. The taxes you pay at the end of the year, when you're trying to get your tax preparer or you're doing it on TurboTax or whatever you're trying to do, and you're trying to get as much money back as possible for what you paid in for that year. I want you to think all you're doing is getting the money back that you overpaid is the way the system is supposed to be. Tax season is not supposed to be a payday. Tax season is supposed to reimburse you of what you paid above what you were supposed to. So if you paid above $2,000, you paid $2,000 above what you were supposed to pay in taxes, you shouldn't be getting $12,000 back. I'm just saying. And then when you try to manipulate the system to fit into the narrative of what you want because you want so much money back so you can go get this and we waiting on tax season and all that. Let this be a lesson to you what happened with the Trump organization. When you start manipulating them numbers, and the thing about it is this, I'll say this too. If you remember, just recently they have this thing up in the Senate and the Congress where they're supposed to be trying to hire more people to investigate and do audits on the people that make money up at this level because of all the loopholes and everything. But the congressmen, the political people up at the Capitol don't want them to be able to do this because a lot of them will be exposed the same way the Trump organization has been exposed at this time. All I'm saying. We all have ended up having to pay taxes back at some time in our life. And if you haven't, you probably will sometime. And what you will be paying back is because of a minor inconsistency in something you did on your taxes. I'm going to go out on a limb and say everybody listening to my voice this morning would not do anything that the Trump organization did in order to get more money at the end of the year. I'm just saying. But we're going to see how this plays out. Right now, Mr. Weisselberg is the one taking the hit for all of it. But, I say it this way. You can't do something with someone's money unless they give you authorization to do it. You can't do something with someone's money unless they give you authorization to do it, unless you're doing it illegally. And if you're doing it illegally, like we've seen ball players lose a lot of money with investments through their accountant and things like that, it comes back to get you. I haven't heard any of the people in the Trump organization do anything but defend Mr. Alan Weisselberg. None of them seemed shocked or appalled that this practice was going on. That should tell you something right there. If nobody is shocked within that organization about what he was doing, they all knew. They all knew. Good morning, my brother Battle. How you doing, bro? Appreciate the support. But this is where we're at when it comes to the taxes of the Trump organization. And like I said, people can get upset because they'll look at it as political and everything like that. But here's the thing you have to remember, and I'm going to bring this number up. Alan Weisselberg. Oh, where'd that number go? Y'all bear with me. Okay. I want you to think about this for a minute. If you make, I'm going to say between $70,000 and $100,000 a year, for you, in your view, your taxes are kind of steep when we start looking at it intently. Between $70,000 and $100,000 a year. Some, if you're less than that, your taxes a little bit more, but it's still a burden on you when you have to pay these taxes. And then you have to take into account of registration taxes. If you pay for registration tax for the car, property tax, all these different things. But we're talking about income tax right now. Think about you paying your taxes on your $70,000 to $100,000, and think about Mr. Weisselberg, who he avoided paying taxes on $1.7 million. He avoided paying taxes on $1.7 million in perks. The $1.7 million added up to what he was not identifying as taxable income. Think about that for a minute. And then you have to think about it. If he's doing it and he knows the loopholes as a CFO of an organization, how many other organizations have an Alan Weisselberg in their midst? Just want to put it out there. Let that marinate for a little bit. Let it marinate. We're going to see how all this turns out. A lot of people don't think anything's going to happen. Me personally, I'm an optimist, not a pessimist. I think the justice will be done for those who need to have justice done to them. And I say that as we transition. Consequences of decisions. Consequences of decision. Now you can bleed that into what I just talked about, but we're going to bleed it into this. 21-year-old Sha'Carri Richardson is speaking out about her suspension from the U.S. Olympic team after failing a drug test. And this is what she said. She said, I want to take full responsibility for my actions. I know what I did. I know what I'm supposed to do. And I still made the decision. Richardson accepted a 1-month suspension early Friday from the U.S. Anti-Doping Agency for anti-doping rule violation. And I'm pretty sure everybody's seen it in the news. You know, everybody was talking about her hair and her nails and comparing her to FloJo at one point because FloJo was her idol and everything like that. But at the same time, now that we have this going on, FloJo's name has just like dissipated from anybody's memory and thought process as far as associating with her with Sha'Carri Richardson. She told NBC Sports following her win in the 100 meters that her biological mother had died this week before trials. That loss played a part in what she did. I'm not making an excuse or looking for any empathy in my case. But however, being in that position in my life, finding out something like that, something that I would say is probably one of the biggest things that have impacted me, that definitely was a very heavy topic on me, she said. People don't understand what it's like to have to go in front of the world and put on a face and hide my pain. Who am I to tell you how to cope when you're dealing with the pain or you're dealing with a struggle that you haven't experienced before or that you thought you never would have to deal with? She added that her biological mother's death was triggering and the news sent her into a state of emotional panic. While Richardson can no longer compete in the 100 meters in Tokyo, there is still a chance she can compete in the other races. And from what I read, they're saying that they may allow her to compete in the 4x100 relay. But that is not on her mind at this point, is what she says. She says, right now, I'm just putting all of my time and energy into dealing with what I need to do, which is heal myself. So if I'm allowed to receive that blessing, then I'm grateful for it. But if not, right now, I'm going to just focus on myself. Then she mentioned, I apologize. As much as I'm disappointed, I know that when I step on the track, I don't represent myself. I represent a community that has shown me great support, great love, and I failed you all. So I apologize for the fact that I didn't know how to control my emotions or deal with my emotions. I greatly apologize if I let you guys down, and I did. But her last statement is the one that jumped out at me. She said, don't judge me because I am human. I am you. I just happen to run a little faster. Let me repeat that last thing because I think this is what everybody needs to take into account when you talk about consequences of your decisions, which she's accepted. And everybody's in the uproar talking about, oh, it's not fair. You know, it's only dope. Well, it's not only dope, but it's only marijuana. Marijuana's legal in certain places. She wasn't taking the drugs to enhance her performance and so on and so on. But if you look in the anti-drug, doping, drugging, things associated with track and field, the U.S. Olympic Committee, everything, marijuana is a substance that is banned. So I understand everyone trying to defend Mrs. Richardson, but I also think we need to step back sometimes and look at the bigger picture of what the policies and procedures and the rules and regulations are. I know we get emotional because we see something happening to one of our young folks who have has promise and potential. But we also have to hold them accountable for the decisions that they make. We can't keep looking for loopholes in, well, it's only this or it's only that. That's what's wrong. When we sit back, as we're the elders now, we are the generation with the children, and we sit back and we're making excuses for our children that our parents didn't make for us. And then we get mad when we talk about we have a generation of children who feel that they're entitled to certain things. But when we defend the behavior that she has stepped up and took accountability for, why are we in an uproar to defend her and the decisions she made? She's taking accountability for it. So why are we getting into this? It's a race issue. Is this, is that? No. Back up for a minute and stop. People trying to throw Michael Phelps in the equation and what he got suspended for. Well, it wasn't during the Olympic trials. It wasn't during the Olympic time period when they suspended him for 6 months. 6 months, not 1 month, 6 months. He had a picture of him smoking a bong. He was suspended for 6 months. Time periods, consequences, all this is relevant because at the end of the day, they were both held accountable for their actions of what they knew was wrong by what they do in life. If you have a job where you take drug tests consistently, or you're susceptible to take drug tests and you get popped on a drug test because you haven't been tested in a long period of time and you get tested and you get popped, who are you holding accountable? You or the people that drug tested you? You knew you wasn't supposed to be doing it when you were doing it. Step up and be accountable for your actions no matter what. We got to stop pacifying wrong behavior. Don't get me wrong. I have the utmost sympathy. I have the empathy, sympathy, all the things that you can think about for this young lady and what she's dealing with. But she's 21 years old. She will recover. But what we need to look at is she's been suspended for a month from a profession per se, because she's still considered an amateur in the Olympics. To go to the Olympics, which is a lifelong dream. We get that. We understand that. But that one decision she made at that time, because what she was going through on a personal level, we want to defend what she did, but at the same time, I'm not saying that what she was going through may not have been traumatic enough for her to result to that. But then you also have to ask yourself, if she resulted to that in a time of pain, do you think she's never done it before? And I'm not saying she has, but you have to take these things into account. You don't just pick up an edible. You don't just pick up a joint and smoke it because you're going through pain today if you've never done it before. Just me. You don't resort to things that you're not familiar with because you're going through pain. From my perspective, you may think differently, but I'm just saying. But if I'm not a drinker and I'm going through something, I don't just go to the liquor store and start drinking liquor. I don't think. I'm looking from my own experience and my own mindset. You don't get introduced to something one day and all of a sudden it becomes a practice every day. It started somewhere. And if you notice in all the statements, she didn't say this is the first time she's ever done it. She just said she knew what she did and she knew it was wrong. All I'm saying, we got to stop placating and pacifying bad behavior. But the overall part we need to pay attention to is she took accountability for something she knew she did wrong, and she knew what the consequences were because of what she did. She's not blaming nobody but herself. But we, coming to her defense, are blaming all the systems around us. When we talk about the justice system and prison reform, we want to lump all these different things into that. But sometimes we got to step back and look what part we play in these decisions that we do. Judy Mills. I like that she took accountability. Sucked for her, but she knew attention was on her already. Yeah, well, I probably shouldn't say this, but I'm saying you're right. The attention was on her already. The long nails, the blue hair, the purple hair, all the different outfits she wear, attention was drawn to her. Accountability is the key. We're out here making excuses for her. She's taking accountability for what she's done. Come on. I admire her more for being accountable for her actions than I do for being able to run a 100-meter dash. Because that's something that a lot of us fall short of, is holding ourselves accountable for our actions. I don't get it. I don't get it. But as I mentioned, out of everything the business said about this young lady, everything that's going on, and I say again, she's 21 years old. She will recover. She'll probably come back stronger next time around. Sometimes adversity fuels us to become even more successful if we channel that in the right direction. The main thing she said to me was, don't judge me because I am human. I'm you. I just happen to run a little faster. Don't judge me because I am human. I'm you. I just happen to run a little faster. That's the simplest way for me to look at it and accept the fact that she's accepting what she did. No excuses. She said she was going through some things, biological mother passed, and we all know that we will never be able to get in the mindset of someone who has lost someone and at the time they lose them, no matter what's going on in your life. How you respond to it is about you. But if you take accountability for the things you do during that time, it is what it is. But let me bring up another one that I just found this morning that came out. Hold on 1 minute. Judy Mills. She gave them what they wanted, unfortunately, regarding looking for negativity with the mention of the hair and nails, so some are boasting about it. Yeah, and you know what? I say that jokingly. Don't get me wrong. I say that jokingly. I admire those who have the fortitude to go out there and just be who they are. Your nails, your hair, your whatever. I mean, and I'm going to say this, and I'm just going to be speaking for me. When you got the ladies out here with the purple hair, the green hair, and things like that, we're so quick to judge what they look like. But we don't praise them for being individuals. We're so concerned about how they look and make us look as a community because they choose to be different, that we don't take into accountability how bold they are to be themselves. Think about that. When we see somebody dressed a certain way, or they got their nails long and their hair, I'm guilty of it. Y'all guilty of it. Let's not play like we don't do this. We see people walk around, and because they look different, we judge. But at the same time, we judge them, but we don't give them accountability or look at them and say, that's bold. That person is living their best life. They're doing what they want to do for them. They ain't worrying about nobody else. And the reason we pull and we point those things out is because we're not bold enough to do it our damn selves. Judy Mills, glad it happened now later than in her career. Exactly. She is young and can and will recover, as you said. Exactly. But as I mentioned about the different hairstyles and the different nails and the clothes they wear and everything, look, let me just say it like this. As you mature, your mindset changes on how you carry yourself. But a lot of the times as we mature, we haven't matured in the aspect of worrying about what other people think. And because we haven't matured in that manner, we feel like we got to fall into the status quo. 21 years old. She's bold. She's out there. She's showing who she is. She is proud of who she is with her hairstyles, wigs, nails, whatever you want to call it. And those in the streets that do the same thing, let them be them. But they also need to understand that eventually they're going to have to go somewhere where somebody's going to have to hire them. Somebody's going to have to sit down and, maybe offer them a job, or they're going to have to look a certain way and conform to certain things. But the conforming to having to wear certain clothes to work or having to have a certain hairstyle and all that kind of stuff should not change who that person is. As they always used to tell us as young men, clothes don't make the man. The man is the man. Just saying. And then we hear this thing about the the swimming caps for natural hair that they banned from the Tokyo Olympics. And now everybody's in uproar about that. And here's the thing you have to remember, people. And I'm just going to put it out here just like this. We're mad because they're not allowing the natural hair skull caps or whatever you want to call in the swimming competition in Tokyo in the Olympics this year. But I'm going to ask this question. When is the last time you've seen someone of color in a swimming competition? Things have to progress. Give it time. This is the first Olympics that it's ever come up. This is the first Olympics that they've been available. Give it time. We didn't just wake up yesterday and decide we were going to be swimmers. These people that are swimming, that look like us, took years for them to get to the point of saying, I'm going to be a swimmer. I'm not going to play basketball, football, baseball, and all the other normal stuff. I'm not going to run track. I want to swim. So if we're just starting to get recognized as being in swim competitions, give it time to recognize that we need different hair things to cover our hair because of how we wear our hair in the pool. Sometimes we got to step back and realize we haven't always been in the swimming pool competing. We've been in the shallow end just wading in the water because we don't want to get our hair wet. But now that we're in these competitions, let the process run its course. When they see more of us are involved in this, maybe things will change then, but you can't wake up one day and say, we're going to make this happen. No, time out. Come on. Sometimes we got to be patient about these things. Changes take time. But we have to be patient as well. Now, I'm not saying, don't get me wrong, yes, we should be voicing our opinion about it so it does become a change. But we have to be patient when we want the change to happen. We can't just get mad and talk about this is racist, this is that. Nah. Stop. There's certain sanctioned, whatever they call them, swim hair gear, whatever that they have to wear that are approved by the Olympic Committee. Give it time. But what I wanted to talk on was this Brianna McNeil. I don't know if anybody heard about Brianna McNeil. She's a hurdler, the 2016 gold medalist in the 100-meter hurdles. She's in a 5-year ban, was upheld for violating anti-doping rules. Now, let me give you this story so you really understand where it comes into accountability. She got a 5-year ban for violating the anti-doping rules. And I just read this morning. This morning. McNeil missed a doping test in January of 2020 after having an abortion. She then changed the date of the procedure on the medical forms because she mistakenly thought her doctor had gotten the date wrong. She was charged with tampering. They said she falsified doctor's note with an intent to deceive anti-doping officials and avoid being penalized for missing the test. McNeil says she was depressed and disoriented after the procedure and made an honest mistake. Now, here's the question I want to ask. She's on a 5-year ban. Sha'Carri Richardson is on a 1-month suspension. This young lady is a 2016 gold medalist 100-meter hurdle, so she knows how the process is supposed to work. She knows she's going to get drug tested because she's been drug tested because she's already been in that process before, back in 2016. She missed a doping test in January of 2020, and then she changed the date on the doctor's note because she thought the doctor put the wrong date. But let me ask this question. If you thought the doctor put the wrong date on here, and I'm not judging, but I'm just using from a management's position that I've sat in many years. If you thought the doctor's note was wrong, then call the damn doctor and ask him to rewrite it or verify whether the date is right or wrong. Number one. Number two, she took accountability. She said she made an honest mistake. She was depressed at the time, which, emotionally and everything that she went through, because the key word I think everybody loses in this equation with her is the abortion. They said she had an abortion during the time when she was supposed to be drug tested. She changed the date, everything like that. But I think what people are going to hang on is not the fact of what the procedure was, but the fact that she falsified the document. But is anybody going to talk about the abortion? Because I'm not. I'm not going down that road. But most people, as Judy Mills said, she would have went back to the doctor. So the question is, if you decided to change it, are you taking accountability that you made a mistake? Yes, she did say that. And she told us what was going on. But at the end of the day, she still has to be accountable for what part she played in this 5-year ban. And the thing is, the 5-year ban, from what I've read, is because of her falsifying the doctor's note. Not because of her missing the test. Watch this now. She missed the test. That's strike one. That's the first offense. But doctoring and falsifying the documents caused it to go from maybe a 1 month like Sha'Carri Richardson to 5 years. Consequences for your actions. She knew what she was doing, and is why she falsified the documents. That's it. We all know, well, maybe it's just me, but I know the consequences of changing something on a piece of paper that you got to present to somebody. I love you, Mom. You know how you changed that F to a B back in the day when you was in school? I'm guilty. I ain't gonna lie. But do I take accountability for it? Yeah, but she held me accountable for what I did at the time. Those are the things that are life lessons that you learn from. Have I ever falsified anything since then? Oh, no. Because I know the consequences at this point will be worse than the whooping I took back then. I still love you, Mom. I'm just saying. I think I turned out pretty well to be somebody that was doing those type things back in the day. I'm just saying. Hopefully both of these young ladies will recover, and then we'll start looking at things differently, that everything you can't lump into one category. Consequences of your decisions. Now we're going to get into the big one. Procedural technicality. Procedural technicality. Now I know, because I know what I know when I know what I know. Bill Cosby, Cliff Huxtable, the person we know from Uptown Saturday Night, Let's Do It Again, all the different things you could think about Bill Cosby or whatever, was released from prison and his conviction vacated this week. 83-year-old Cosby walked out of the State Correctional Institution, Phoenix, in Montgomery County, Pennsylvania, Wednesday afternoon. Cosby's publicist, Andrew Wyatt, told ABC News earlier Wednesday that he was going to pick Cosby up at the prison. You know, they broadcast, oh, we going to pick him up. What we saw today, this is what somebody said, what we saw today was justice. Justice for all Americans. That's what his lawyer said. This is what Mr. Cosby had to say. I have never changed my stance nor my story. I've always maintained my innocence. Thank you to all my fans, supporters, and friends who stood by me through this ordeal. Special thanks to the Pennsylvania Supreme Court for upholding the rule of law. Today's majority decision regarding Bill Cosby is not only disappointing, but of concern in that it may discourage those who seek justice for sexual assault in the criminal justice system from reporting or participating in the prosecution of the assailant, or may force a victim to choose between filing either a criminal or civil action. Now, this is what Constance, who he was charged with the crime for when he went to trial. This is what the statement from her and her lawyer said. Constance said in her statement that the decision to overturn the conviction resulted from a procedural technicality. Castor is the same lawyer. Watch this now. This is Mr. Bill Cosby's lawyer. Castor is the same lawyer who went on to represent former President Donald Trump during the ex-president's second impeachment trial. It's so ironic. It's so ironic. Attorney Gloria Allred, now she was representing several women who testified against Bill Cosby at the time when they were trying to bolster the prosecution evidence about prior bad acts. They brought all this stuff up about what he did in the past when he talked about the Spanish fly and all this kind of stuff. And this is what she said. And even though the court overturned the conviction on technical grounds, it did not vindicate Bill Cosby's conduct and should not be interpreted as a statement or a finding that he did not engage in the acts of which he has been accused. Let me read that again, because I think people really need to hear that. And even though the court overturned the conviction on technical grounds, it did not vindicate Bill Cosby's conduct and should not be interpreted as a statement or a finding that he did not engage in the acts of which he has been accused. Janice Baker Kinney, one of the women who testified at Cosby criminal trial, alleging that he sexually assaulted her in 1982, when she was a 24-year-old bartender in Reno, Nevada, told ABC News Live on Wednesday she was stunned by the news. I'm shocked, and my stomach's kind of in a knot over this. Just one little legalese can overturn this when so many people came forward. So many women have told their truths. Mr. Cosby has maintained his innocence, had his petition for early parole denied in May after corrections officials cited his refusal to participate in prison sex offender programs. In an appeal of the conviction, Cosby's lawyers argued that the trial judge erred in allowing Cosby's prior deposition about using quaaludes during consensual sexual encounters with women in the 1970s. Two lower courts, including the three-judge panel of Pennsylvania Superior Court jurors, had previously refused to overturn the comedian's conviction. Despite the deluge of accusations against him, Cosby has maintained he never engaged in non-consensual sex. Now, I read all that to let you know this. I reckon back to the time when O.J. Simpson walked free for the murder of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman. And we celebrated, we were happy, and I say we because I'm using us as a community right now, but we were happy to see a black man not go to jail for something that he said he didn't do, and all the evidence weren't there, and they found out, they did the investigation, found out the system was corrupt when he was going through and all that. Okay, we're not going to go through that again. But let's go to Mr. Cosby at this point, because I think the thing with Mr. Cosby's trial is not the fact that we're happy that he got off. Let's just be honest. I'm just going to speak for myself at this point. I don't think it's the fact that we're happy that he got off, because whatever and whoever he affected and what he was charged with are still going to be affected to this day. The victims, and I don't like to use the word victims, but the people that he did whatever he was charged with being done. But you have to look at it and ask the question, if these lawyers and these judges do this on a consistent basis, how can we get to the point where this man, let's take Bill Cosby's name away from him, this man served almost 3 years in jail over and is released now on a technicality because they did something they knew that shouldn't have been done. Technically, if you break it down in simple terms, it was double jeopardy. He did a deposition saying what he did. He used the quaaludes and stuff like that in consensual sex, and they turned that around and used it to charge him when they put him in jail. So what we have is this difference of opinion from people who sympathize with the, victims. I'm just going to use victims now so we can use the terminology so everybody understands. So we use this with the victims. We have people that side with them and saying it's unjust, it's not fair. But then we have people that side with Bill Cosby because most people are saying he shouldn't have been in jail anyway, because whatever he did, the statute of limitations, which the charge was only brought like 2 days before the statute of limitations ran out for what she wanted to do. He had already paid a civil suit and everything. But you got the people that say he shouldn't have done time and some people that say he should have done time. And now we're in the middle here because people are siding with Bill Cosby and saying he should have been freed and should have never went. But then people aren't taking into account what the victims are dealing with right now and have been dealing with over this time. I'll put it to you like this. I'm not saying he's guilty. I'm not saying he's innocent. I'm not saying the women lied. I'm not saying they told the truth. I'm not getting into any of that. No how, no way. But what I will tell you is that there's always two sides to a story. And the only people that know the truth about what happened are the people that were there. And unless one of those people decide to come out, which they've been telling their stories from different sides, but until you get both of them face to face, like you used to do as a supervisor or manager, you pull the two people in and be accused of something and put it right there, because most people will not lie or can counter or can rebut what the person's saying happened compared to what they say happened face to face, you usually find the truth out at that point. Not in a court of law, just two chairs in a room and letting the people talk about what happened. Sometimes what you find out, there was a misunderstanding in something that happened during that time. Now, I'm not saying that rape, non-consensual sex, any of that is a misunderstanding. What I'm saying is this, and people will get mad when I say this, but I'm just going to say it. From what we know to be true, and this is nothing against the victims, but this is just an analysis of how I see it. From what we know to be true, Bill Cosby has been married forever. Let's just be real. He's been married forever. I don't understand how you can put yourself in a position to say that you were there and you had non-consensual sex, and he's saying you had consensual sex, and nobody's questioning the fact that this was a married man either way. Because for you to be somewhere with this married man in a hotel room by yourself, and I'm not victimizing anybody, I'm just giving you a synopsis because we did this with Mike Tyson too. So don't make it seem like Bill Cosby is better than Mike Tyson because they both were in the same situation per se. But you have to look at it from the big picture of when you make decisions, you can't put all the blame on someone else because it didn't turn out the way you wanted it to. You knew what you were going there for. He knew what you were coming for. That was just a little long pause for y'all to get that marinate. But what I'm saying is this. I get the victim side of it. I get the Bill Cosby side of it. But we have to look at it in the aspect of he is not in jail right now, not because of what he did or didn't do, because of the system that we talk about on a consistent basis. And here's the thing, and I've said this many times. It's amazing how we see so many people of color have to be exonerated from the system that has charged them because of technicalities or false statements or anything like that. And then we have to choose a side on what's right and what's wrong. This is why we talk about the justice system needs to be reformed. That's why we say we need to look at these things in a deeper dive to find out what's going on with this, because there's no way you can tell me that Bill Cosby, being the status that he is and the stature that he is, that you can tell me that this technicality should have ever happened. Either he's innocent or guilty, not a technicality. I understand, where the people that were affected by what he did to them, where they could stand at this point because they know what's true. He knows what's true. But him being released does not exonerate him from what he was charged with. What has exonerated him? Well, he hasn't been exonerated for what he was charged with. He has been released because of a technicality. Let's make sure we keep that clear. Bill Cosby, role model at one time, Cliff Huxtable. We watched the show forever. You haven't seen the show on TV after he went through all this. He's lost many things, but we always talk about what the person lost that was sentenced. But we never talk about what the people have lost who were affected. How do we get there? How do we get a balance there where we see both sides and we don't feel we have to pick and choose a side unless something has happened to us traumatic that we truly understand? The only reason you know where I stand on this, and I really haven't told you where I stand, is because I got a microphone. But we all have our conversations here and there about how we feel about it, whether he should have been charged, whether he shouldn't be charged, whether they lied, whether they did this. We all going to have our opinions. But none of us will ever know the truth because we weren't there. We weren't there. And unless you were there, I don't know what to tell you. I just don't know. We look at these things when these things happen. We see somebody looks like us be able to, per se, beat the system or we see that the system wasn't done correctly, and we see them walk free, and we're hollering, we celebrate, we applaud, we do all these different things to show that we approve of what happened to make the system look the way it looks, corrupt per se. But we never take into account the victims. And I'm going to use victims at this time, the people that were affected, the victims of whatever the person was charged with. And the reason we don't look at the victims, and I'm going to leave it at this after I say this, the reason we don't pay attention and we don't really put into account what the victim may be going through, or what the victim's family or the people that were affected go through, is because unless it hits home, unless it's somebody you know, unless it's somebody that is your family, unless it's somebody you truly love, we tend to side with the person we see on TV or the movie screen or the athletes or the people that we see in the public view, rather than the person we've never seen before, unless the evidence is clear, crystal clear. Judy Mills, so much of that was happening more than now. Good old boy system. Yep, exactly. Some may have been consensual, expecting an opportunity. That's all I'm saying. And I don't get into that, but you're right. We got to remember who Bill Cosby was now compared to who Bill Cosby was then. And that's why I brought up, let's do it again, Uptown Saturday Night, Cliff Huxtable, all the different things he did through his career. Bill Cosby was one of the most powerful people in Hollywood at the time when all these accusations, well, the accusations came later when all these things that were supposedly done were done. How many people were trying to get on that casting couch? How many people were looking for an opportunity? How many people went in consensually and didn't get what they wanted and called it non-consensual? I'm not saying any of them lied. I'm not saying any of them had ill intent. All I'm saying is, if you were there, what the hell was you doing there? Married man forever. Just saying. We all got our faults and our ways and things we've done, but you still have to look for the accountability on what you play and what happens to you at times. I'm not saying everybody's accountable for what happens to them. I don't want nobody to take that the wrong way. Somebody being abused and raped or anything like that. And no, I'm not saying that they're accountable all the time, but there are circumstances where they have to take accountability for what part they played in it as well. Not saying that they're guilty of, they should, I'm not going to get in there. That's a rabbit hole I don't want to go down today, and I'm not going to go there. Let's go to the mind, body, and soul segment so we can leave that alone. Mind, body, and soul, the year 2021, we're taking it one day at a time. Self-care, self-help. We're coming into the 7th month, y'all. We halfway through 2021. And there's some things that a lot of us still need to work on. We need to get motivated to do. We need to do what we have to do for us. In the mind, body, and soul segment today, I got 2 of them wrote down, but I'm torn between which one because they all correlate to what we've been talking about today. And I'm just going to use the easiest one of them all. Accept responsibility for your actions. Be accountable for your results. Take ownership of your mistakes. Accept responsibility for your actions. Be accountable for your results. Take ownership of your mistakes. We all make decisions on a consistent basis. Every day we make some type of decision. And something I used to tell my boys when they were younger, as they were becoming older, I used to tell them, I say all the time, I said, do not make a decision today that will impact what your goals and dreams and your future may hold for you. Think the decision through before you make it, because one decision can alter the course of where you want to go and make it where you need to go. But a part of that we lose focus of is accepting responsibility for our actions. We see people on a consistent basis, and we do it ourselves, as We don't take responsibility for the part we played in what happens to us in life. We don't take responsibility for why relationships fail. We don't take responsibility for anything that happens to us across the board 100% of the time. The ones that are easy to accept responsibility for, we take it with no problem. But those responsibilities for our actions that have affected other folks, we're timid. We hesitate. And we don't hesitate because we don't feel bad about what we've done and the responsibility we needed to take. We don't want the other person to hear us say, I'm sorry. We don't want whoever we've done something to be able to go back and say that he apologized for what he did, because we don't want to look bad in anybody else's eyes, even though we already know what we've done to somebody. And then when you get to the point of being accountable for your results, we just try to blow things off. We don't want to be accountable. We've seen this 21-year-old young lady take accountability for what she did to cause her to lose something that she's worked hard for. But her accountability causes us, even though she took accountability, as she mentioned, she's only human. The only difference between her and us and the decisions we made is that she can run a little faster. In our lives, we're going to hit bumps in the road, but it's not the fact that the bump you hit, it's how you recover from getting over the bump. You know, it's like when you hit that pothole and the whole car shake, you know, the whole car shake. How do you get control of the wheel? You try to shake, you try to get it back going straight. We do that with our lives, but a lot of times once we get it back straight, we forget about what we did and continue to do the same thing over and over again, which causes more bumps along the way. Because we don't take accountability for the results of our actions. We look at it, we move on from it, and we keep doing that same thing over and over. It becomes repetitive because we don't hold ourselves accountable like we hold everybody else around us accountable. And then the end of that is we don't take ownership for what we do. We take ownership for everything we do right. But we're hesitant to take ownership of the shit we do wrong. We want to seem perfect to everybody else. And the way they see us, the way they judge us, and all the different things like this. And one thing that we find out is what we'll do is we'll put the judgment towards somebody else to keep the judgment off ourselves. Because we don't want to take ownership for our mistakes, but we want to point out our flaws in everybody else. But it's just like that mirror looking back at you. When you look in that mirror and you identify all the flaws on your face and on your body when you look at yourself. When you put those clothes on, when you put that makeup on, when you do all the enhancements to make you look flawless, when you leave your house, those flaws are still there. You just found a way to cover them up so nobody else sees them. We do the same thing with the mistakes we make in life. We highlight certain things so the things that we do wrong are minimized in the views of others. But then when we see someone else make a mistake, we yell it from the mountaintops. We broadcast it across everywhere. Because the one thing we want to do is keep the focus off ourselves and our flaws and what's wrong with us. Because we don't pay attention to us until we look in the mirror. But when everybody else sees what's going with us and has things, and we know things are wrong with us and what we've gone through and what we've done wrong, we do anything we can to deflect it from us and put the attention on somebody else. Ownership of who you are in the good, the bad, and the ugly. All the makeup, all the nice baggy clothes you may wear to try to hide that little pouch you may have or whatever you may have going on with you that you see when you look in the mirror that you may think is wrong with you. People ain't worrying about that. People ain't worrying about that. Because the main thing that people want to know is, do you have integrity? Are you true about who you say you are and who you portray to be? Accountability for what you do on a daily basis can go a whole lot further than having on a pair of red bottomed shoes, having on the newest designer clothes. Your integrity and who you are as a person, and owning up and being accountable for the things that you do in life, no matter who you are and no matter what you've done to somebody, being accountable for who you are and how you impact other folks in their lives, not just yours, in their lives, is more important than that $102,000-$3,000 car or eight Mercedes-Benz badges on the cars and whatever you got on your back and all that. Your flaws are not only superficial from the outside, but your character, your integrity, all these things are what expose you. And when you're exposed, we tend to point the fingers at everybody else around us and hold them accountable for what they have done to us. But we never hold ourselves accountable for what we do to somebody else. And I say all that to tell you this. When we see these situations, all the ones I talked about today, from the tax evasion to the marijuana smoking, to the young lady doctoring up and falsifying a form, to the Bill Cosby situation, we're all going to have opinions about what went on, what happened, what we think happened, and all those type things. But when these type things happen and we see them, step back for a minute and think about all the things in your life and all the mistakes you've made and all the people you may have impacted, right, wrong, or indifferent. And then ask yourself, should I even be judging these people about the decisions they made? Because damn it, I done made some decisions that, whew. And then ask yourself, if you could do it all over again, would you do it the same way? Knowing who you've impacted along your way, would you go back and do it the same way you did it then, right now? Knowing what you know, would you do it the same way? Because I'm gonna go out on a limb and say Bill Cosby and everything he's gone through, those people that were affected by him, Sha'Carri Richardson, the other female, I can't remember her name, all the things we talk about on this show, if the people had an opportunity to go back and change the way they made those decisions at that time, would they do it differently? Knowing what they know now, would they do it differently? Because I think a lot of us would look at things that we've done and how it's impacted other folks. We may not say out loud that I wish I could change how I treated that person. I wish that relationship, I would have been different in that. I wish. We don't talk about these things out loud because we suppress them. And what we do is we cover them up because we don't want people to recognize us by what we've done wrong. We only want people to look at us about what we do right. If you're accountable and you take accountability for what you do and how you impact people, it'll show. You don't have to tell everybody. It'll show through your actions, and it'll show through the people who choose to have you in their lives. That's the simplest way I can say it. The people in your life are there for a reason. And it ain't because of what you own. It ain't because of what you wear. It ain't because of what you drive. It's because of who you are and your integrity and the way you treat them. And if those people are in your lives and you treat them good, think about all the people that you've lost out of your life that you didn't treat good. And then ask yourself, what am I doing different now with these people that I should have done with those people? That's all I'm saying. Let's go ahead and wrap this thing up. I appreciate everybody tuning in. July 4th weekend, Independence Day, 1776. Y'all know the story. Go out. If you celebrate it, be safe. Firecrackers, all that kind of stuff. Drunk driving. Be aware. Do not be out here with all wilding and carrying on because it's a long weekend or anything like that. Be safe, be careful, and be accountable. Be accountable for your actions. The things you choose to do, you're accountable for. Not everybody else. You're accountable for. I appreciate everybody tuning in. I love y'all. Merchandise is still out there. If you want to buy t-shirts and everything, support the show so I can put it back in, sow some seeds into the show for a brother. We're going to keep giving you good content, keep talking about these things. Because one thing that I had a discussion with OT the other day and we were talking, shout out OT. We were talking the other day, and we were talking about followers and subscribers and all this kind of stuff. And one thing that I tell people is, one thing they ask me is, how much do I make doing this? I don't make nothing. Everything I do because out of my pocket, because I'm not looking for the money value. I'm looking for the impact value. And when I say the impact value is, I want to give y'all information that you may have already heard, but from a different perspective. And when you listen in, like I always say, I'm not trying to change your mind. I just want you to look at it differently. I want you to look at it differently. And by looking at it differently is not looking at it from my point of view, but just looking at it from a different perspective from the way you looked at it from the beginning. If we can give people the mindset that everything you see needs to be interpreted, you need to research, you need to come to your own conclusions, not by everything you hear, but what you go back and research for yourself, I think we'll be good to go. I think we'll be good to go. Put up your Cash App so we can sow a seed. I don't do the Cash App thing. If you want to buy a t-shirt off the website or something like that, Lady Michelle, I appreciate it. That will put it back into, but I want you to get value while you're putting value in. I don't do the Cash App thing. That's just not me. That's not how I roll. But I appreciate the thought, because if I had one, I would definitely put it up there. But I don't do the Cash App because my thing is, I don't feel, for me, this is just me. I'm not talking about anybody else's show, but for me and what I do this because I enjoy doing it. I enjoy doing it. And I feel that when it's time and when God sees fit for me to be able to prosper financially or otherwise from this, I'm already prospering from it because the feedback I get. But if I'm supposed to be rewarded financially, I would like it to be a blessing from God rather than me asking for the blessings of someone else to sow the seed. So the merchandise, any t-shirts you buy or anything, that money goes straight back into the show, not in my pocket. Cash App can do the same thing, but I think if I want some money from you, or if I'm asking you to support the show, I want you to get something from the show. That's the only way I look at it. I appreciate that for asking me about that, though. But as I was saying with me and OT, we were talking, and it's not about the number of subscribers, not about the number of people, the count of how many people watched or timed in or anything. It's about the impact. It's about the impact. And I think at the end of the day, when we look at these things, when we go back in time and you go back and watch the shows, I'm still growing. The information I'm giving you, I hope is impacting you to the point of making you think differently. That's it. That's it. Because, I said this to OT the other day. Yes, sir, bro. I said this to OT the other day. And I said, people are quick to go and subscribe to Roland Martin and Kwame Brown now, and all the different people you see on YouTube and Facebook. They'll subscribe, they'll click the subscribe button, they'll follow them, they'll listen, they'll like the things they're doing and all that kind of stuff. And I said, and the thing about that is that if you sit back and think about what they're talking about compared to what I'm trying to put out there, it's two different worlds. It's two different worlds. And it's not the fact that I feel I'm better, because I do a lot of research on all this guy. I watch Roland Martin. I watch all of them because I want to see what they're talking about. I want to see how they're doing things. And it's not for me to change my format to be like them. What I want to do is learn from them because they've been doing it for a long time. And if I can get to be somewhere with a voice like they have and still have the impact that I'm having, whether I get 1 million listeners or 20 listeners, that's all it's about for me. And I just want everybody to know that because, it comes to the point where in life, we all have a purpose. Right now, this is my purpose. And I know as time goes on with the support of you guys and everything I'm doing, and as the word gets out, my purpose will become bigger. But I'll still be the same old R.W. Coolins. I don't want it to go to the head. I don't want to get to the point where I'm all about the money, because you get some people that is more about the money than it is about the impact. That's all. And I'm going to leave that alone for now. Let's go ahead and get off this show. Everybody enjoy your 4th of July. I'll see y'all again next week. Got some guests. I'm going to have some guests coming on. I haven't finalized that, but the female pastors, the female clergy, let me get it right. We're going to have them coming on, and then we're going to keep going from there. But I appreciate y'all. Love yourself. Love one another. Keep your head up. And most definitely, keep your faith in God. And if you haven't learned anything else from the show today, remember this, remember this, remember this. When you get off today, look up the word accountability. Read what it's all about. Read what accountability is all about and hold that close to you. Take that word accountability Put it into your everyday life. Because if you don't hold yourself accountable, nobody else will. They'll talk about you. They'll talk about you. But a lot of people won't hold you accountable. We need to start holding ourselves more accountable than we're worried about what other people think about us. That's all I'm saying. I love y'all, and I'm out. Enjoy your weekend. I'm rambling. I love y'all. I'll holler at y'all next week on the show. Peace. I'm out.